This story about GameStop and the GameStop stock price going through the roof, this is the single funniest story that I have seen in years. And not only is it hilarious in and of itself, but it actually has deep political implications. And the political implications are simply delightful. I fear that because this involves finance and involves investing, this story might be a little too complicated for most people who aren't going to pay very close attention to it to understand just how funny it is. So I'll try to break it down very simply because I don't know anything about finance either, but I've at least read a fair bit about this particular once in a century type of event, once in a lifetime type of event. A bunch of internet trolls on the Reddit board Wall Street Bets decided, Wall Street Bets, this is like an irreverent investing board. This is not like a sober, serious investing board. They just put up kind of crazy, risky bet ideas. They noticed that hedge funds had taken a short position on GameStop. GameStop is this video game store, right? You know what GameStop is. It doesn't have a ton of growth potential. It seems like it's kind of heading out the door, kind of like Blockbuster or some of these old companies. So these internet trolls discover that Wall Street took out a big short position on this, specifically one hedge fund called Melvin Capital. And a short position is when you're betting against the stock. So if the stock price goes down, you make a lot of money. And if the stock price goes up, not only do you lose money, but you've got to start buying it up. So you've got to start putting more cash on the table to cover your losses, right? So GameStop, though, it was trading at like $6 not that long ago. It wasn't doing great. Hedge funds take out huge short positions on this. And these trolls at Wall Street Bets decide, we're going to make this stock price on this kind of crappy company go through the roof. And maybe we'll make some money in the process, but more importantly, we are just going to mess with these hedge funds. These guys, we have no sympathy for them. We're going to completely mess with the financial establishment. And the craziest thing is, it's working. The board has, I think, 2 million members. And so I was asking myself when this was going on, why hasn't this been done before? And the reason is you've never had this kind of the technology to do it, to wrangle like 2 million of these kind of eccentric type of people. But you've also never had the memes. You've never had the humor. You've never had the specific political conditions of people wanting to flip the bird to the establishment, which they believe has royally screwed them over in recent months. You've had individual aspects of that kind of thing, but you've never had it all coincide. This whole phenomenon is very internet-y. Okay, so it's the kind of lingo that people use. They'll be joking about how, they're just going to grit their teeth and take some of the losses until their mom brings them chicken tendies into the basement. And they're using all this kind of very internet-y lingo. They have like sea shanties that are being posted. They posted one last night about how we've just got to hold on as the financial industry pushes back because we're all going to make a bunch of money and bankrupt Wall Street.
There once was a stock that put to sea. The name of the stock was GME. The price blew up and the short dipped down. Hold my bully boys, hold. Soon may the Tendy man come to send a rocket into the sun. One day when the trading is done, we'll take our gains and go. She had not been 2 weeks from shore when Ryan Cohen joined the board. The captain called all hands and swore he'd take his shares and hold. Soon may the Tendy man come to send a rocket into the sun. Refers to
one
day when the
chicken
trading
tenders.
is done, we'll take our gains and go.
It goes on. I encourage you to listen to the entire shanty. It goes on and on like this. So far, GameStop, not a great company, is up something like 2,500% this month. The stock has hit, I think, $460 a share. AMC Movies, this is another company that's basically headed for bankruptcy, right? Because no one's going to the movies anymore. AMC, they sent this one through the roof. They sent BlackBerry up, the old cell phone company. That's up 250%. I think they were going to target Nokia as well, another cell phone company that nobody uses anymore. It's all just a huge meme. However, the meme is becoming reality. So the internet joke is totally affecting reality, and it's going to put hedge funds out of business. Gabe Plotkin, who's the hedge fund trader at Melvin Capital, he was the one with the biggest short position. Yesterday, when this news broke, he had to raise almost $3 billion to bail out the fund. Squawk Box, which is, the very serious sort of CNBC financial news show, they just couldn't make any sense of it.
We've mentioned social media. I couldn't help but it's not obviously similar to some of this controversy surrounding Facebook and Twitter and everything else. But once again, what's one of the things that we're talking about is maybe misinformation and pump and dumps, and it's occurring on social media again. I'm wondering whether it's part of the same problem, the type of regulation that we finally need to consider. And like I said, we should always have a light touch with regulation, but you're seeing the way things can get started. Again, this is different. Maybe it's Reddit, maybe it's not Facebook, but you're seeing the same situation. At this point, it's not about an election. It's not about an insurrection, but there are interesting things happening that seem to be spawned to some extent, or at least blown out of proportion by social media again.
That entire monologue was completely meaningless. That guy has absolutely no idea what he's talking about. First of all, some of the things he's saying are just factually not true. He's saying this might be a pump and dump. It's not a pump and dump. A pump and dump is where you pick a stock cynically, you bring up the price really, really high, and then you try to find a bigger idiot to sell it to. So you're going to totally mess that guy over, but you're going to make money at his expense. That's not what's going on here. What's going on here is these internet trolls found a giant short position from a giant institutional investor, and they said, nah, I don't think so. We're not going to let you guys do that. And so then this financial analyst on CNBC says, well, I don't know, maybe it's maybe we need to regulate this. I mean, we want a light touch on regulation, but we can't let these guys do it. What he's really saying is, we don't want any regulation for the institutional investors. We don't want any regulation for Wall Street when they do this exact thing. But we do want regulation for ordinary people. We can't let individual investors do this kind of thing, then the whole game's going to be up. What is going on here is not primarily a financial phenomenon, it's a political phenomenon. And it is the same phenomenon that you've been seeing build up, coinciding, in part caused by, in part causing the Trump phenomenon. It's ordinary people rebelling against an established elite that they don't have any faith in. A lot of times this word populism gets thrown around, and I think it's often sort of a silly word because I don't think people are either populists or elitists. For instance, if we have a good elite, then I'm an elitist. If we can have a good, virtuous, smart, thoughtful elite, then great, works for me. Count me in the elitism category. But we don't have that. We have a bunch of corrupt, cynical idiots in our so-called elite. And so with that kind of an elite, I'm the opposite of an elitist. I'm the furthest thing I'm a total populist. If the elites that we are currently governed by are hipster Rasputin Jack Dorsey, a grown man with a nose ring, and the crooks of the Obama-Biden liberal dominant regime, and the educational establishment, which is utterly upending liberal education, if those are the elites, I'm out, right? And that's what you're seeing here. And you're seeing all these unwashed peasants on these internet boards eating their chicken tendies. You're seeing them outfox the Wall Street elite. And they are not liking that very much. So now the financial establishment is pushing back. They're trying to shut these guys down. In a way, the media understands this thing. So Chris Cillizza at CNN posted this piece yesterday that people made fun of, but he actually had sort of a point. He said how Trumpism explains the GameStop stock surge. And it is kind of a negative article, but if you take the preference out of it and you just look at the phenomenon, yes, it does sort of explain that. But then other media outlets do the same thing they do to all the Trump people. They say, well, the only way to explain what's going on right now is to say that the people doing this have awful, terrible intentions, and they're evil, and they're bigoted, and they're neo-Nazis, and they're white supremacists, and we got to shut the whole thing down. The elites are making the exact same mistake with regard to this kind of frivolous financial phenomenon that they have for the political phenomenon. And just like Trumpism, it isn't going anywhere. This is only more evidence that, sure, you can vanquish Trump for now, but you're not getting rid of the forces that propelled Trump and that have supported him. Mother Jones, the liberal outlet, I guess even further leftist outlet, is looking at the GameStop Wall Street bets phenomenon and following up on what the CNN types are saying this isn't just Trumpism. This is neo-Nazism. This is white supremacy. One reporter from Mother Jones says, I can report from the Telegram channels that the Nazis appear to be trading GameStop and AMC as well. Now, why would someone say that? Why would someone say, how do you know that's the Nazis trading this? How do we know? I mean, to Mother Jones, everyone to the right of Hillary Clinton is a Nazi. I think the reason to say that is because it justifies shutting it all down. If it's ordinary internet trolls eating chicken tenders, you don't have a good argument to shut down trading on this stock because ordinary people are doing what institutional investors have done for a long time. But if it's Nazis, you can do whatever you want. A reporter for The Hill, a much more mainstream outlet, writes to the reporter from Mother Jones, what is your sense of the overlap between the Wall Street bets people and the Nazis on Telegram and elsewhere who stormed the Capitol? Ooh, good. Maybe we can use the FBI to go to their homes and shut them down and put them in prison and take away all their money. They can't do this, darn it. Discord, a social media platform, shut down the Wall Street bets account for hate speech. Because they drove GameStop and AMC and BlackBerry, because they drove them through the roof to wreck some Wall Street investors for the lulz, for the laughs, they booted them for hate speech. This is the same thing you see done to conservatives whenever they walk a little bit away from the liberal establishment, whenever they question in any way the dominant liberal regime. What are we told? We're told that's hate speech, that's bigotry, it's dangerous, it's a threat, you're a Nazi, you're a white supremacist, and we've got to censor you. NASDAQ is considering halting trading to let the investors, quote, recalibrate. NASDAQ CEO Adena Friedman said that the exchange could halt trading activity for stocks in the event that they were targeted by these internet users. So you're going to let these giant bigwigs on Wall Street have a completely unfair advantage on investing when their investments get threatened. But ordinary people, what happens when you're, with far less knowledge, by the way, what happens when you lose some money in the markets? Do they stop trading on NASDAQ for you? I don't think so. The White House, for their measure, are monitoring the situation. Jen Psaki, the press secretary, was asked about this, and she had a typically profound answer.
Is the White House concerned about the stock market activity we're seeing around GameStop, and now with some other stocks as well, including the subsidiary or whatever, the company that was Blockbuster? And have there been any conversations with the SEC about how to proceed?
Well, I'm also happy to repeat that we have the first female Treasury Secretary and a team that's surrounding her, and often questions about market we'll send to them.
Hold on. What? Hey, this is the strangest day in the markets that we've had in 100 years. What's going on over there? Well, I'd like to remind you that the Treasury Secretary has breasts. Okay, can you tell us anything about the markets? She identifies as a woman, and her pronouns are she and her. Yes, Jen Psaki, I understand all that, but I need things that matter. I need information. I need information that matters, not just your ridiculous liberal identity politics claptrap. I hope you enjoyed that clip from The Michael Knowles Show. To check out the full episode, hit the link in the description or download The Michael Knowles Show wherever you listen to podcasts.